Do it cause I love it and I stuck with it. We ain't with the subbing in the cut with it. Please none of the talks, I heard enough of it. Like, what you gonna do? Where you at? Who you with? You ain't really about this, don't talk about it. Really on the move, on the map, never slip. Keep your hands to your lips, don't talk about it. Real eyes, real lies all the time. Stand on it, if we said it, we don't walk around it. Loose lips, ain't ships, red cup, blue strips, new phone, who this? No, we don't allow it. Really on go, I don't know what's an off day. Now we on road, came from smoking in the hallway. Now we got shows, boys feeling like Broadway. Always look both ways, even on a crossway. Driving down Cross Bay, out town Barclays. Really on big things, came up a small way. Championship rings, baby, that's a ball game. Oh, she want a little bag, baby, that's small change. Yeah, that money talk. If we ain't cool, then cut me off. No breaking news, don't run your mouth. Thought it was the plug, now he running off. Thought it was a plug, now he running off. What you gonna do? Where you at? Who you with? You ain't really about this, don't talk about it. Really on the move, on the map, never slip. Keep your hands to your...
Hey guys, welcome to the 5Fs to Love Network. I know you're thinking, oh, that's not Christine's little studio. Well, you guys are actually in the space where I started, which is Shops on Top. So we used to do shows live right here at Shops on Top in Eastern Market, and that's where I'm at tonight. Why? Because my power is out. We had a huge power outage here in Michigan, so I'm actually at a different location tonight. So, but I am excited. We're still going to continue with the show because nothing stops the show. So what's going on, Ish? How are you?
Hey, good to see you.
It's good to see you. So I see you guys have power in New York and the weather hasn't shifted anything for you.
Thank God for that, because when we've had it out before, it's been out for a couple of days.
I know, we're out until Sunday. So I'm gonna be like camping
Sunday.
out.
Ooh.
The hotels are getting packed around here. So we're gonna see what happens.
Wow, that's really bad.
All right, but thank you for joining us tonight. And I see we have Dr. Campbell. Hey, Dr. Campbell. Looks like you're leaving. Are you just leaving? Are you leaving care? Like, you look like you've been taking care of some patients.
I literally just told my last patient, look, you know what? We got to wrap this up because I got to go put this podcast. So I over here, got my computer started. Yeah, so busy day, but good day.
You know what? Ish and I were both saying that too. Today has been, I'm going to say to you, this has been one of those days where I tell you, it's one of those moments, and I rarely say this. I wish I was married just so I could go home and my husband could just give me a hug and be like, babe, you're good. You're good. Everything's going to be fine.
We'll give you a virtual hug.
Yeah, let's do a virtual hug.
Trust me, I can definitely use
background. What is this new background? Like,
this new background, I used to do when I started the podcast, it was actually live. This was the studio, and it was set up like a TV show. Like I said. Mm-hmm. And so because my power is out, I came back from where I originally started, which is Shops on Top. It's a Black-owned business. And they have like 5 stores. It's over 20,000 square feet just on one floor. And it's Black-owned. And it's absolutely beautiful.
That's huge.
So this is where I'm at tonight. And this is probably where I'll be at tomorrow night.
All right. That's all right.
Back up. So, you know, our conversation is about brotherhood, but I really just want to talk about in general, not just about brotherhood, but about friendships. Because, you know, uniquely us, we meet people from elementary, middle school, high school, college, graduate school, which are different type of friendships. And then you meet people as adults, right? And you want to cultivate those relationships. So it's like, you know, and I'm just, you know, even speaking from a female's perspective, from my perspective, it tends to be a little bit difficult the older you get, right? About how to make that happen. So I'm just going to say this is going to be an interesting conversation because it's not just about brotherhood. It's just about us as African Americans, right? Trying to pull together this whole union of being in relationships with people outside of our marriages. So, hey, Matt, you missed it. They gave me a virtual hug. It's been a tough day today, honey. It's been a tough day for me. Like, honestly, and you guys know I'm not a crybaby, but this is one of those days, honestly, if I had a husband, I would go home so he could just give me a hug and kiss me and say, babe, everything's going to be okay. I got you. It's been tough.
Hey, but Christine is so timely, you know, because that's what friends are for. Look, the reality of life is that, you know, you can't always be with the one you love. You can always.
That is so true. And in my case, I need to hurry up and try to, as Matt says, if I learn how to cook, I could get a husband or boyfriend. But we're gonna talk about that too, Matt. But this is not the show because everybody with the vagina is not a cooker or a mother. Right. I just want to be clear. But that's the thing. That's my downfall. But we're gonna see what happens. Just like everybody walking around with a penis can't fix a car and hang a shower curtain. They can call somebody though. They can call somebody to fix the plumbing.
Yeah, come on.
Reservation, right?
Gospel,
right.
Truth.
But I just want to say, because I just feel like it's equal. Like, as long as you can get somebody to do it,
yeah, fair enough.
A good deal. Right. I can get somebody to come and cook a meal. And I think that should be fair. All right. So while my buddy Matt is on the winery dealing with his connectivity issues, I want to kind of start talking to you guys because one, I mean, for you, Dr. Campbell, you actually came from a different country over to the United States. And so for you looking at friendships versus, Ish or me or even Matt is a little bit different because you had to do a restart.
Correct. I did. And it's interesting that you're asking this question because my wife still marvels at, she's like, I don't understand. Like, you have so many friends. And it's really because I've been able to restart and I constantly restart. And I have people here that I'm friends with now in Vegas because I've been in Vegas since 2014.
Okay.
And I've developed a community here of people who consider me and call me genuinely, that's my friend, right? Despite only being here for 7 years and despite not have been in the friendship circle, like some people who were born and raised here, I'm treated that way. And it's weird because she's like, I don't understand. Like, when you were in New York, you did the same thing. Like, you had a group of friends. You went to med school and you had a group of friends. I'm trying to figure out if it's a good or a bad thing, but that's not even the discussion. It's really what works for you. It's really what works for you. People say, well, are they really friends or are they acquaintances? Like, what are they? And, I really believe that question ultimately becomes a personal question because you let them in as far as you want them to go.
Right.
You expose them as much as you want them to be exposed to. And not everyone can get to the inner circle. It's just, that's just the reality. Not everyone I can let get in Bible days, they call it, in the sanctuary, there was the Holy of Holies. And then there was not everyone was allowed in the Holy of Holies. And there's a reason why they had it structured that way. There are certain things that I will not let even the people who consider me friends get to. Why? Because they haven't earned that place, that right to get into that special place, right? But at the same time, I have, almost like an onion, I have several different layers. And when you see me, Christine, or when you see me, Matt, or when you see me, Ish, my delivery, my encounter with you is going to be as genuine as it is with someone who occupies the inner of inner, right? Because that exchange is still the same. I don't treat someone who I've met 5 years ago less than someone who I was friends with 15 years. It's the same. So they all see Campbell as the same. And that's why I think gravity draws people. The energy is still the same. But for me, though, in terms of, yes, I'm very careful who I let into that space. But when I give, I'm just giving of me.
See, right? And I think a lot of us are like that. I think that's one of my biggest downfalls is that I'm the same genuinely with everybody, but what I share with you is uniquely different. Now, Ish, for you, when we started talking, you were like, I'm kind of in between. I'm in a phase where I'm phasing some people out and phasing some people in. And this is at 50. So, I mean, what does that look like when, as a man, you're phasing people in and out?
There are a few people that I've known for like decades, and we're still friends, but I don't feel comfortable in sharing or giving of myself because, quite frankly, I feel these people are somewhat selfish. It's always about the takers, and I'm a giver. And like the doctor said, in terms of I make friends relatively easily. I made new friends in my advanced stage. I made friends, at the park with my kids, but I think people. I made new friends, but those new friends haven't sustained themselves over time. Like we haven't really gotten really close. We hang out with the kids every now and then, maybe might get together. But some of my traditional friends from college, and we've kind of parted ways. And the male friends, but the female friends, we pretty much stayed intact.
Wow. Now, Matt, I know for you, you meet people everywhere you go, and when people meet you, everybody loves Matt. And everybody wants to be your BFF.
Is that a question or a statement?
It's a statement and a question all in one. You know that, Matt. So how does that work for you? Because you are a very likable person.
Yeah. So I will say, as a relationship coach and mentor, to me, it all revolves around purpose and time. I'm big on time. So there are friends that I've been friends with for decades, and there are friends that I've been friends with for weeks, and there are friends that I've been friends with for minutes. For me, I don't really differentiate the two. The friends who I've been friends with decades, all that means is that if we get in the same space, in the same environment, we can have an interaction that's pleasant for me. But if I'm in New Orleans or in DC or in Huntsville and they're not there, then I have a relationship with the people who are there. But real question is, what are the techniques for people who can't make friends? How do you make a friend? How does Ish do it? How does Dr. Campbell do it? And I think that there are the 5 techniques that deal with getting a significant other also apply to a friendship. You have to it's TGIF. You have to find a target. You have to get in close. You have to identify something about the person that you like. Doesn't matter whether they like it in you or not, really. It doesn't even matter. If you like something interesting about them, and then you follow up. And if you do those, those 5 steps, the TGIFF, you will find a friendship relationship. And when the evening is over, you will look back and say it was pleasant. So that for me is what happens. And it doesn't really matter. I mean, if I've known you for a long time, it just makes it easier because we have a lot in common. But if I just meet you 10 minutes ago, I can run the same process and have experience the new person.
That's so interesting, guys. When we get back from this quick commercial break, that's what we're going to talk about, is that how do you make new friends at this age? And how genuine do you think that friendship is going to be for you? Because I think a lot of times we want to meet new people, but like Dr. Campbell said, it's like the inner circle and then there's the circle. So there was 2 different conversations. And when you end up letting people into your inner circle, you have to have a certain level of trust with that person because now they're in your personal space. So folks, we'll be right back after this quick commercial break, and we're going to start answering those questions. This is all pertaining to brotherhood, honey. We get to the end, y'all gonna know why we started with this and we're ending with what we're ending with. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
I don't know about you, but you make me crazy. Never got your name, but you got me begging. All I know about you like to pick and choose, make it all about you. Go take it all if you want. Taking the chance, stuck in my head, not gonna leave it at that. Taking the lead, feeling your heat, just wanna give you my best. I don't even know your name, but you got me, 'cause you're old to die. We don't know what happens next, but you got me, 'cause I'm next in line. You make it look so easy, making me feel so dreamy. Never wanna pay for drinks, but you got me, 'cause you're old to die. Got me locked in now. Go ahead and take a shot. Do you really want me? Maybe you're just...
Hey guys, welcome back to the 5Fs to Love Network. Tonight we're talking about not only brotherhood, but we're talking about friendships and relationships. So when we last chatted, which some of you guys are just joining me right now, we had Ish on, Dr. Campbell, and Matt, and we were talking about what's the process to even making friends. having that type of relationship with someone when you just met them and you're in your 40s or 50s. It's a different type of conversation you're having. So let's bring back the guys so we can continue this conversation. So let me tell you something. One of the things that concerns me, and this just could be a female thing, I don't know. It could be a male or female thing, I don't know. But one of the things that concerns me is that when you are the new person and there's already this circle already formed, right? And you're the new person and one person's bringing you into that group, right? And the other people within the group may or may not like you for different reasons. They may not particularly care for you. I feel like I'm going through an interview and trying to get people to like me. And I don't know in my 50s if I'm open to that. Like, I don't know if that's important to me. I kind of like take me at face value. And I know I'm not trying to be like your best friend, but at least I think I could make surface level communication, hang out, go bowling with you, go to a concert venue or something like that. Do you guys, is it just as difficult as men to make those relationships in your 40s and 50s?
Well, for me, I haven't found the friends that I made, like I take my kids to the park, whatever, other dads and that kind of thing. They haven't really gotten very intrusive. But if I find someone's getting too intrusive too early on, I will push back on that person. But I've made some friends just being in a park with my kids, and typically being in a park leads to a certain direction in terms of questioning. It's not like a cocktail party. People tend not to get too intrusive in that kind of a space, but I've had success in that respect.
Okay, what about you, Dr. Campbell?
I mean, it's I think for me, it's not really challenging. It's not. I make friends fairly easily, and I think to the point where I need to figure out, and even at this age that I have not really learned yet, how to screen people better. I think you mentioned I think Ish, you mentioned earlier that you're a giver. Have a good night, buddy. That you're a giver, right? And I think givers really, 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 we need to know our limits because takers have none.
Absolutely.
They have none. And they will drain us to death because in our DNA, we are naturally givers and we will pour out until the last drop is gone. And then that person will move on to the next. And they will keep repeating their cycle of discord, of draining people, because that's what they do. And if we don't figure out ways to protect ourselves, then we end up being the victims as well. For me, I need to learn how to better screen. But I can go into a room, Christine, and if there are 50 people in this room, give me an hour in this room, and I would have made a contact, made a connection with Ish, with Christine, and not just a hi, what's your name?
Right.
No, I get something more about you than just the surface level. Get a contact. And I'm that guy that on Saturdays when everybody's chilling, I'm going through my Rolodex from Monday, and I'm looking through to see who are the new numbers I added. And so if something hit or someone made an impact, hey Ish, what's going on, my guy? It was nice to meet you. Great to connect. When you're going out again, hit me. Or when you're doing something of commonality, hit me. So there's some effort that goes into the development of what would be considered a better friendship. I think if we want a friendship to happen, it's especially at this age, it's going to take some work because everyone is coming to the table with either their concerns, their suspicions, their apprehensions, and those need to be deconstructed if a true friendship is going to be formed or if a friendship is going to be formed. And so the work, though, that goes into that, sometimes not many of us want to do it because it takes work. It's not magic. You got to make an effort to make sure that you stay in touch, you pay attention to things that they might have mentioned that is important to them, so that when you see them again, you can go to those important issues to let them know that you were indeed paying attention. That's an active process. It's not passive.
And you are 100% correct. And before you respond, Ish, I just want to say, Gerald, thank you from 60s to no 40. He says he's a giver. He also said people take advantage of them, of givers.
Always.
And I can only say that it's been very challenging for me in general. I think when I meet people, I take them as face values. I'm not judgmental at all. And my thing is, I want whatever I can do to help you be successful. And whatever space you're in, I'm willing to do it. And it comes with no strings attached. I just think you should do that, right? Just to help people. And to me, I've always been told you earn friendships. So my thing is, whoever you see today, I don't change. I'm this person. It's not going to flip back and forth. It's no moment where I'm not going to be this person, even on my worst days. And right now we're having this podcast. This is probably one of the worst days I've had since the beginning of this year. But you would never know it because I'm on here doing what I need to do. And I would be this way regardless. Now, when it's all over and I go home, I'm going to have a breakdown. That's just me in my own personal space. But I would never give anyone else in my space the impression that, I'm in the middle of just a whole little breakdown right now. So to me, I'm this genuine person. And I think sometimes as adults, when you meet people in this adult world, you're assuming they're similar to you or they're managing things similar to you. They're not emotional. They're not a person who's going to take and not give, right? And then you begin to take, destruct and take things apart and go, all right, maybe this is not a good match for me. It's like a relationship. It's not a good match for me. I need to move on. So like Ish, with you, we talked about you having better relationships with women than with men.
Yeah. Well, the men typically kind of go up and down over time, but the women for the most part have been stable. But getting back to what you said about, and the doctor said also about deciding on who would be a best option for a friend. And what I find is that I've learned that the people who I typically have friends all have the same kind of characteristics. I can look at people now, like the doctor. I can tell that the doctor he talks about being a giver, and I gravitate to people who are like me, as opposed to when I was younger. I was trying to convert people and bring people over to my camp. Same even with dating. Like I know the women that I'm going to work with, and if I were single, I'd operate with that same mindset. Like I know the energy I'm looking for. If I don't see that energy, I'm just going to be polite, but I'm not going to continue to advance the ball. Same with friends. If I meet a friend and he's not giving me that same energy that I'm giving or that I typically gravitate towards, I'm not going to push it. I know it's not going to work. So one thing I've learned in my advanced age is that I know what works for me. And all my friends, if you look at them, they all have the same genuine qualities. And if you don't have those genuine qualities, I know we're never going to go past this point here.
You know what? That is so interesting. When we get back, we're going to talk about how people start off having those genuine qualities and how they're not able to maintain them. Just similar to when you were in a personal relationship with people. It looks good, honey, when you start in the beginning, but then it starts to trickle off and you're sitting there like, what is happening? This is not the person that I met. And then you just kind of do a step back. So we'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
여유롭게 달려와 내일은 더 빛나지 당연해 내 삶은 shine like a diamond 괜히 해서 뭐해 걱정 I got no worries no I got no worries no I got no worries no I'm shining like a diamond shining like a diamond yeah got different view 여유롭게 tease yeah 내 자유로운 soul leave me be please 문제가 돈이 나면 I'll be filthy rich but 걱정 따윈 없지 나
I'm going out my mind give me some directions to get to you. Ain't gonna waste my time I know that we got connection. I think about you. You're on my mind, on my mind, on my mind. Yeah, I'm going out of my mind, out of my mind, out of my mind. Yeah, for you, my love. You drive me crazy, tell me what to do, what to do. I'm on my knees, yeah, I am begging you, begging you. I'll break the rules if it will get me to, yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to the 5 F's to Love. This is Real Talk with the Men. Tonight we're talking about not just brotherhood, but we're talking about friendships in general. You know, I think it's really interesting. I have my very, very best friend who I grew up with, Kelly Johnson. She died when I was in my 40s of a heart attack. And to me, that was like, I thought she would be my best friend for life. I thought we would grow old together. And I had never anticipated her even leaving at that point. And it was such a compliment because people don't understand how close our friendship was. Her son, Christopher, she named him after me.
Wow.
And she was just like my everything. She was my best friend. We were born a month apart from each other. So we knew each other since we were in diapers. So that's a friendship that I miss tremendously. And then I had a really good friend when I was in high school, Sherry Whiteley. She's got a different name now. She's married. But then when I went off to college, that relationship changed, you know, and it didn't continue through college. So then I made friends in college. And those friends that I made in college, I still have now to this day, right? Antoinette is another friend that I had since middle school, but she moved. She no longer lives here. She lives in Texas. So my thing is, in my life, I don't really have a friend that I can say I've had since childhood up to now. Everybody's in segments, right? And then right now, I only have 2 girlfriends, which is Cook and Tina, who I can talk to about anything, like literally anything that I have a problem about, and they never judge me. But the thing is, I have more male friends than I have female friends. Because in my world, I think sometimes, I don't know, I'm gonna ask you guys, does your world work like this? But I think a lot of times women, we make decisions based on, we judge you. So if you look a certain way, you act a certain way, then we make decisions on whether or not you're gonna be my friend, and whether or not I think at some point you might be an issue, competition, or whatever in the circle, right? But for me, I don't feel I'm competition for anybody. I think whatever's for you is for you. And if there's anything I can help you get in life, I'm going to support it. I think that's why I have more male friends. I'm just out to help people be successful. I'm not here to hurt anybody or hamper anybody's growth. So for you, you already said you're closer with women because men are not consistent. Do you think men are more once they formulate a family and get some other things going, that they're not able to manage those relationships, those external relationships?
You know, I don't know if it's all men or just the men that I've been in contact with. I don't want to put a blanket statement and say, oh, men are like that. It could just be the friends that I've encountered, but over time, they haven't been consistent. Whereas the females, you mentioned Cook, we share a friend. And, you know, we go back 30 years, and she's always been a consistent. Even though we don't talk for 5 years, when we reconnect, it's like we're starting off from scratch again. You know,
right?
Those are the friends that I tend to gravitate to. But something you just said about you know, judging again. You know, it all flows back to energy. Like, you know, the energy you get from Cook and your friend who passed and the other young lady. I think if they don't share those same energies, it's not going to work. You're just forcing it. And also, you have to know what kind of person you are and what you bring to the table. Like, I'm a good person. Like, I think about people, they don't even know what I'm thinking about them, and I'm praying for them, you know, that I'm thinking about things they may have told me that I may have not even shared. So if you lose me, you're losing a good-hearted person, because it doesn't get better. It doesn't get better. If I won $100 million, I'd give away $95 million.
I know, right?
That's the kind of person I am. You know what I'm saying?
I would give away most of the money.
I don't want it for me. I want to help people. That's the kind of person I am. So if somebody doesn't like me, they don't want to gravitate me. I'm not. When I was a kid, I used to get upset. But now I'm like, you're losing. I'm not losing. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I think it's easier as you get older, because it's easier because you don't have as many. You don't have to chase as much friendships when you get older, because you're clear on who you are. At least I think that's, some people are clear on who they are. But if you do go back to early childhood, what does it take to be a friend? I think a friend is two things. One, I don't think you need a friend for every season. I don't think one person, just like you don't have one mechanic or one doctor, you don't need like one friend. There's no magic friend out there. I think you need different friends for different reasons. Some friends are good time buddies. Some friends are kids buddies. They're different. You have different friends for different reasons. But I think one thing that has to cut across all your friendships is your friends need to care. They need to have concern. They need to be active listeners. They need to respond consistently, which doesn't even mean they respond the right way. But you have some friends, they're always going to give you the ghetto version of the answer. You got to go to them for that answer. And then they need to have empathy. And if you have people who have empathy, listen, just sitting on this call, I can hear that you're hurting. So I will be calling you after this call to see what's really going on. But I think, whether it's male or female, anyone can care about you. And that's what friendship is about.
That's the one thing that you said. I think it's very important when people understand everyone's not around for long term. People are there for a season. And I think sometimes, especially if you're a giver, you may not process it that way because you're investing in that person. So I take it a little bit more personal when people just do some foolishness. As that commercial, and I love that commercial where all the older women are in the living room, and she says, I'm unfriending you. She says, that's not how it works. That's not how it works at all. So to me, that's how I am. I'll be like, well, I'm unfriending you. Okay, so I'm done, because I think I'm very sensitive to that, because I understand the value of a friendship. And to me, my friendships are more important because I don't have a family. It's just me and my son. I don't have parents, you know what I mean? And my siblings were raised separate from me, so I don't have siblings. So to me, my friendships are like family. So if I bring you into my space, this is like legitimate. I'm with you on a ride or die. And if I don't bring you in, that's because I don't trust you in that space. So I think those are, how we look at them differently. But for you guys as men, and when we get back from this quick commercial break, I'm going to need y'all to answer this question. What's up with this whole brotherhood of friendship that you guys have? Like, you guys, male friendships to me are different than female friendships in so many ways. Like, you guys have like this special, unique bond. And I think women have them, but I think it's also, it's different in a sense, because even when you're in a sorority or you belong to a Black female all women organization, it's still some what's the word I want to use, uniqueness to it. What did you say, Ish?
Tension.
It's still some tension.
Or cattiness.
Pettiness to it.
Christy, there's no other creature in the world like a Black male. We have a trauma bond that nobody else can understand. It's a trauma bond. That's what we got.
Is that what it is?
Nobody but us.
It's very, very unique. And I will say this to you. I know the sisterhoods are strong, and I do love them. Every time I see a group of Black women together, I'm always very excited. But I also know to be a part of those organizations, it's very intention. It's a lot of tension. It's a lot of stuff that you have to do. And that's probably why Christine just kind of kicks it on the solo, because I'm not a follower. And I'm kind of like, uniquely, whatever you need, I got you, but I don't think I'm a follower. And I think that's another thing too, when you talk about these different things. I kind of think uniquely Christine. So we're going to take a quick commercial break when we get back. Matt, we're going to start with you, because I want to kind of discuss, Matt, you're not in a fraternity. Matt has created his own fraternity. And that's what makes them uniquely Matt. So I want to talk about that brotherhood when we get back from this quick commercial break.
All right.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
I need it all. Do you want it all?
Where do I begin? I see the hate, they don't wanna see me win. Bank deposits, I got more coming in. Top down, throw the money in the wind. I don't want it all. Heard this scammer had to switch up the accounts. Moving paper, gotta call in my account. It's all in, I can have it coming out. Been through the struggle, I can see another drought.
Yeah, it's not a purse, it's a merch. 6 figures was a gold, now it's 9 or a hearse. Put it work. Used to pull up, not swerve. No time for the snakes, trying to put them in the dirt. That's word. I gotta get it, it's in my DNA. You only see the highlights, don't know what it takes. Last year stressing, got no sleep. Now I'm right between the courts, I done no sleep.
I see the hate, they don't wanna see me win. Bank deposits, I got more coming in. Top down, throw the money in the wind. I don't want it all. Heard this scammer had to switch up the accounts. Moving paper, gotta call in my account. It's all in, I can have it coming out. And through the struggle, I can see another drought.
Yeah, same circles to the same gang. We just get to it, we don't gangbang. Lost some friends to the same thing. Keep a low pro when we maintain. Find us in the lost somewhere, kicking back. Find you.
Hey guys, welcome back to the 5F's to Love Network. Tonight we have Real Talk with the Men, and we're talking about more than just brotherhood. I just want to say, as an African-American woman, why is it so difficult for us to make friends? Why do you guys think that? Why do you think it's harder for women to make friends in our 50s than men? Just kind of curious. What's your thoughts on that?
I think women are more competitive, for men, the pool of men out there supposedly is small, so women are competitive. They're all trying to outdo each other. Yeah, and also you guys weren't brought up the way we were brought up. We were hazed growing up, so we're used to, like, you mentioned, judging, if you're gaining weight, God's gonna say, you getting fat, man. A woman would never tell another woman you're getting fat because women aren't as honest. So I think a lot of it has to do with honesty. Men are more honest with each other, sometimes to a fault. And women aren't honest. So you guys have these kind of like these, I would say somewhat like not the most genuine relationships to begin with,
Wow. Okay. That's good feedback. Dr. Campbell?
And just to add to that, Ish, that's a great point. I'm not sure if, in my sort of understanding of this, that women are trying to be ingenuine or trying to be dishonest. But I think just by the nature of, the feminine sort of protector, nurturing, I don't want to hurt anybody. I'm trying not to hurt her. So as opposed to telling her directly, let me find who is close to her. And maybe I can tell her girlfriend, so her girlfriend can tell her to get that hair addressed or that whatever it is addressed.
Right.
Whereas guys, I'm going to the source. Hey man, I don't know you well, but let me pull you aside, bro. This needs to come down, or that needs, or what you said out there, dude, that was dope, or that could have been a problem, man. I'm gonna go directly to the source, and most guys will. But I think, again, I don't think, women are trying to be dishonest, but by virtue of the feminine side of them. They're trying to be protective, but at the same time, in being protective, I believe, Christine, that it causes damages because it's misinterpreted a lot.
Wow. Matt, what's your thoughts?
I don't agree with your hypothesis, Christine. I don't. I look at men and I see the large number of men who are alone and who are lonely and who are dealing with life and stress by themselves. And then I look at the women and they have this ecosystem of people who support them. And so I think it's harder for men. I think there's more men who are out here. If you look at the numbers, and I wish I had the data to support it, but my sense tells me there are more men that are out here alone. As a matter of fact, if a man and a woman gets divorced, a lot of times the friends all go with the woman, and the man, everyone says a man recreates his life and all. He has to recreate his life because the woman tends to take the ecosystem. So I don't think it's easier for men.
You don't think
Do
it's
you
easier?
believe that? I'm sorry there, Matt. Let me ask you a quick question. Do you believe that that the women take the ecosystem because they purposely want to take it, or because they're just more open to have the discussions and share sort of what they're dealing with versus like what we talked about a couple, podcasts ago, where men, it's just harder for us to share or to tell, and so because of that, in order to develop a relationship, you kind of need to speak. And if we're not speaking on something or anything, then we can't move beyond that point where we have a connection. And so, women, I think, are more likely to discuss, to share, and not you, Christine, because you're different. You're different. But women in general are more likely to tell of what's going on. And whereas for me, barring the second coming, the sky needs to peel open sometimes to get my mouth to open to say a word. Like I need to see, that cow flying over the moon or something crazy, because I'm not budging. I'm not saying, it all depends, but I rarely say something. And so because of that, I probably will be the one who likely will have to go rebuild, because I don't tell people around me anything. And I think if we don't move beyond that and can't share and, relieve ourselves of that anxiety that what if I fear and they turn against or hurt me and I become vulnerable. If we can't become vulnerable, then there's no growth. And so I understand your point exactly, Matt. And I see how that could potentially be the case.
And Doc, I think that whoever people get used to a certain way of a friendship working. So everyone has rules to a friendship, right? And the rule to our friendship may be that we go over to a certain house for Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman. Whoever keeps that house, if a relationship ends, they keep it. If the kids are friends, if the kids go with the wife, the friendship goes with the wife. So I think now if the man ends up being the person who is at home and maintaining the ecosystem, it could go to the man. I think it just goes to the person who people are used to dealing with. Yeah. And oftentimes that ends up being a woman. The other thing too for men is, I mentioned this trauma bond earlier. Whether you look on TV, whether you look on the radio in life, there are a lot of traumatic things that happen to Black men. And so when we go into fraternities, it doesn't matter which one it is, whether, I think I've hit every single one, whether it's Divine Nine or Masonry or Southern Christian Leadership Conference. To get into Black male organizations involves trauma. That's what ties us in so many different ways. Involves trauma. It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't even matter. The military, whether it's a Masonic lodge, whether it's a Divine Nine organization, whether it's a medical association, if you're going to be a Black male in America, you're going to go through some trauma. And that trauma bond allows us to make friendships very quickly, but it also allows us to be incredibly brutal to each other in terms of what we say and how we respond. So I'm always, gonna bring this up, that for understanding Black males, you have to understand what happens to us when we are vulnerable. And when we are vulnerable, we tend to be hurt. And that shapes how we interact with our friendships. It shapes what we tell. We're just as likely to tell a stranger as we are to tell our best friend some bad news, because sometimes our best friends, they may respond consistently, but it may not be the soft, loving, oh, you're going to be all right answer. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. And I think Doc talked about the inner circle. Those few people who are in our inner circle will give us that love. But by and large, as a Black male, is to face tough love all the time.
You know, real quick, Ish, I just want to say, Gerald said ego gets in the way. And then we have Jamaica chiming in. The chosen one says hello from Jamaica. So, and I'm very sure that's some of Doc's people.
What's up? You don't know. Welcome to the show.
I just want to say that's some of Doc's people. So go ahead, Ish.
No, I think Matt may have misunderstood the question. You're right as far as the ecosystems, but those are things that are developed over time. The question was, who can make friends easier, new friends easier, men versus women? And I contend men do, because men are more honest and women have more barriers. But I think what you're saying, Matt, is correct. Women have the ecosystems, support systems to help them, which we don't have. But in terms of making friends easier, men have the edge on that one.
I have to say I agree. I'm just saying I'm a very friendly person. And what you see is what you get. Bottom line. I'm just consistently me. But it's really hard for me to make friends. Like good friends. When I tell you a good friend that I can trust. So when I met Tina here, it was odd because we were both kind of like, okay, we like each other. The more time we spend around one another, it's like, this is a person I know I can talk to about anything. And we do. We just talk. And it's no judgment. So that is important. But for you guys, Matt, going back to what you were saying, the brotherhood with men, you guys are uniquely charged in that thing where I feel like what you said was like really a big moment. You all have those trauma connections, but you go outside of that to get the softness that you need when you're going through those trauma moments, which I think sometimes, and I'm not going to say women overlook it, but I think sometimes when you see a Black man, you don't think he needs a hug or he needs somebody to kiss him and say, babe, everything is good. And I think even when they're your friends, when any of you guys call me, and it could be any situation, the first thing is I always ask, well, what can I do to help? Right? That's my first thing, because I want you to know that I'm there for you and it's not about judgment, right? But the thing is, Matt, is that something that's missing in conversations where you feel like men should be able to be there for one another and women should be able to just be there for men? Are you saying you guys need that ecosystem, that support?
Yeah, I think men need it. Too often, I don't think we have it, but I think we need it. So that's kind of it. For men, there is a lot of ego involved, probably just as much as is with women. So that's why I'm gonna go back to what Ish said and circle back to, it's easier for men or for women. Two people walk into a bar. They don't know nobody. A man walks in a bar. There's a group of women sitting there, 4 or 5 women sitting at that table. It takes a lot of courage for that man to walk up to that group of women. I mean, some people can do it. A lot of people can't. A woman walks into a bar. There's a group of men sitting at the bar. She saddles herself up to the bar, and you can start your watch. I don't care how she looks, before one of those men will turn and start talking to her by herself. Or if she starts talking to them, they will talk back. I maintain that it is easier for a woman to make a friend, even if that friend has to be a man. And a man who likes a woman will listen to a whole bunch of foolishness just to get what he wants. Whereas a man, good luck, brother. Good luck.
You say a bunch of, now that I'm going to tell you, every group of women that I've ever hung out with, I'm the chick that approaches any guy. Most of them, they just sit and don't say anything. I'm the one that goes, look, my girlfriend is feeling you, so what's up? Are you free? You taking, like, what's happening? See, I'm that person in the group. You know why? Because I'm not afraid of rejection. I'm not afraid of it. It doesn't bother me. I know that I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I'm okay with that. But I'm also okay with the fact that when I look at you, I'm not looking at you as the next Mr. Whatever. I'm looking at you like you could be a business partner. You could be connecting me to the person I need to be connected to. So I think, too, when you look at friendships, it's a purpose behind it. What is the purpose of that friendship? Right? And I think that's the difference when it comes to brotherhood. You all, the purpose is just genuinely to have a friend. But this is the other thing I talked to Ish about. Y'all don't talk about nothing. Why y'all don't tell each other to go to the doctor? Why can't y'all talk about when you have male issues? Y'all never sit around and drink a beer and say, you know what, man, I had a problem with my wife the other night. Y'all don't do that. Why?
Amen.
You know, I think we got a message earlier talking about egos, and I think that has something to do with it. I think it has a lot to do with it.
Wow.
You see, you know, egos does have a lot to do with it, and you know, we're men, we're protectors, we are.
But Dr. Campbell, does that mean you can't tell your dude?
No, it's not, and I'm getting to that point right now, and so you know, the training, right? You know, from we're kids, we were taught, you know, we're almost indoctrinated. You have to be tough. You can't show emotions. If you show emotions, you're weak, you're soft. You're not the protector that you're designed to be. And as a result of that, right, that is then taken over from your childhood days to your preteen and teenage years, and you carry that with you. That becomes the foundation of who we are and who we eventually become. And so to rewrite that narrative, it takes a tremendous amount of effort and enlightenment, because you're going against the grain, you know, from all different directions, to do something different and to become vulnerable, to talk about things, right? When that's not what we are supposed to do, because that's not manly. And so the ego, it goes back to the ego. The ego comes in now because, you know, I'm going to say these things and he's going to be all up in my business. He's going to start judging me wrong. And, oh shit, you know, what if he go tell this one and that one? And then your mind goes down and then he's going to look at me like I'm a fool. And, you know, no, I can't be seen as a fool. I'm a man and I'm standing equal, shoulder to shoulder with my boys. And so, you know, you go down that rabbit hole of your own thought process, where that could be completely false. It could be that my boy could just say, no, dude, I was having the same thing. Thank God for saying that, because now we can talk about this. But I was afraid, you were afraid, and we're all afraid, and we couldn't have this conversation. And I believe genuinely that in a lot of the cases, the vast majority, that's the case. We all have similar issues, but we're all afraid to discuss and talk about them because of those inhibitions that we all have. We're afraid. And
I didn't think about it from that perspective, because if you're raised to be a man, it's hard to tell another man, I'm having problems sexually with my wife, right? And then I get that part, and I think that too, that is true. But I guess my question is, if you're not talking to your wife about it, you're not talking to your girlfriend about it, you're not talking to your boys about it, can we get a priest in there? Can we just talk to somebody? And read this, I only say this because Black men have so many different health issues that they're not talking about. And for me, you guys always say, well, let me go run this off. Let me go to the gym and work it off. A run is not going to fix the fact that your penis is not working. The gym and run is not going to help the fact that you have heart disease, or you got diabetes, or you got high blood pressure. It's not going to fix any of that. And then I have people say, well, if I go to the doctor, that's when everything goes wrong. No, that's because you waited so long to go to the doctor that now that list is long. So It's not that you get sick after you went to the doctor. You were sick way before you went. You just waited so long. Real quick, Gerald said, yes, exactly. Men have always be the king of the jungle. So if we show a weakness, people won't look at us as being a king of the jungle. You guys believe that? You believe that saying something is wrong?
Yes, but I think we got to change the paradigm, right? What I do, some of the brothers, sometimes when I do speak about health issues, I say, look, man, you got to be around for your kids, man. You know, like I mentioned to you earlier, I had an issue a few years ago, 2 years ago, where my PSA levels were had increased within the 6-month period, and the doctor wanted to make sure that I didn't have developing cancer. Lo and behold, we went through the whole process. I had the test to test the tissue to make sure it wasn't cancerous. But, you know, it was a very somewhat of an invasive process. Right? And so when I talk to brothers about that, I try to position in a way to kind of scare them, because a lot of us are scared of death, you know. So if you say, look, if you position in a way, look, man, I mean, nobody wants a digital exam, but you want to be around for your daughter, your son, and a lot of us black men are dying early because we're afraid of these silly little tests. It takes a couple seconds to go in a doctor to kind of check you out. And also, a good brother who died a few years ago, that movie, the Black Warrior movie. I can't think of the name right now.
Black Panther.
Black Panther.
I mean, you know, a young brother, 45 years old. That's typically, you know, that's 45 is usually the age that they require men to have that test, that screening test done. He died way before that. So, and I found out about that 2 years after the deadline. You know, so.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did that push you and other black men to go get the test done? It should have been an influx of men standing in line.
Yeah, I got mine. I got my test before he died. But I'm saying by the time I found out when because for a long time they were saying 40 years old, 50 years old was the age. But they reframed it for black men and said black men is 45. I didn't get mine done until I was 48. You know, I didn't know until when I found out, I rushed to the doctor to get it done. But I found a lot of my friends hadn't gotten that test done. You know, and
so let's ask the question, why? And I feel, because, you know, a really good friend of mine, I said to him the other day, you don't know what's wrong. Go to the doctor. He says, well, I'm having heart blood. I'm having acid reflux. Well, acid reflux on a consistent basis is an outcome for several things. You could have a stomach ulcer. You have something going on with your digestive tract. Like, go to the doctor and well, no, I'm not going to go, because when I go, then all of a sudden I'm going to be deathly ill the next day. No, you already definitely. That's what I'm saying. So he said, men talk to the side chick. She has no judgment. All I have to say is, why do I have so many guy friends? Gerald,
I hear you. Oh my gosh.
Is that true? The guys talk to the side chick and not the wife for your friend?
I want to know about that.
Me either. I don't know anything about the side chick.
All you guys are like, no.
You're trying to get me in trouble.
Oh, don't know anything about the side chick. Not at all.
So you know what? I like what you said, Ish, and it's so true. I will say, you know, Dr. Campbell, you're very right about me. When I got really sick, and I think every time that I've gone through treatment, no one even knew I was sick. No one knew I was going through treatment. When I had a double mastectomy, nobody even knew I had that done. It wasn't until I showed up and people was like, oh, it's something different about you. Well, yeah, my chest is going. But I never talked about it. I just kind of dealt with it. And I think, you know, a lot of times things may have been easier. Because for me, the first day after my surgery was so funny. I realized I needed a girlfriend to help me change my bandages. Mm-hmm. But all my friends were guys. But guess who came over and changed my bandage? One of my guy friends. And he did it like a nurse. He was like a pro at it. But the thing is that I realized in that moment there are spaces, like Matt said, that you need certain people at certain times, right, to help you manage that. But as men, I feel like, and I count myself, I'm kind of female, male in some instances. And the toughness is kind of tough too for me, because people always say, Chris, you're tough. It's not that I'm tough, it's that I'm determined. Determination is different than toughness, right? And when you're determined, people look at you, whether it be male or female, as she can take anything or they can handle anything. And that's the way I see men. You guys, number one, I think all the time when I see a man, because I raised a black man, and he's a good guy. Every time I see my son, you know, from 6'3", I just hug him and kiss him and tell him that I love him. Mm-hmm. So that he knows no matter what, I got him. Doesn't make a difference what's going on. I have him. And I think the same thing about you guys. You know, it's important to me that I think we all need to just embrace men and let them know that you got somebody to talk to. So if y'all having problems, y'all know y'all can talk about me. Even if I got to fly in, I'm going to get y'all some herbs or whatever. We're going to fix the problem. Joe said, not saying it's any one of us. I've heard it from other guys. Okay, Joe, right. I know you don't have a side piece, because I know your wife, Donna, and they about to get married in April. I know he don't have a side piece. So we ain't going to worry about that. But you're right, most men do. So what would you guys say to any man out there right now, as we talk about the brotherhood, and like you said, may it be a fraternity, may it be the Masons, the Christians, whatever, organization you're in, what would you guys say? Because you guys are not having real talk. What would you say to them right now?
Yeah, I would say go get you a village, go join a club, join an organization, but everybody needs somebody. And Black men especially, we need somebody.
Okay, Campbell.
I agree 100%, Matt. The phrase "it takes a village," it's literal. It's really literal, and it's applicable to men and women, people in general. That sort of environment of feeling that you belong, feeling that there's someone that is looking out for you. As human beings, we need those sort of emotional connections or ties to flourish as people. To stand alone as an island, and no one has ever, successfully done that long term, because it's not sustainable long term. Short term, yes, as a protective or as a defense mechanism, yes, you can stay off. You can say, I'm going to be by myself. But quickly you'll realize that being by yourself is just not healthy. It's like when we were dealing with the pandemic and the heights of it, and we had to stay home, it was great, for the first month or two. But then we were like, no, we can't. This is crazy. And then people were dying to interact again. The same way as men, we need genuine and sometimes ingenuine interaction so we can learn lessons. Because those come with lessons to the ingenuine ones. But we need connection. We need nurturing. We need the support. We need that, hey, you know what? Hug your tall son, as tall as he is. Hey, you know what? I got you. As simple as that is, the protector sometimes need to be protected.
Oh, I like what you said, Dr. Campbell. Even the protector needs to be protected. What do you got? Because that was like a little moment for me. I just had a little moment when he said that. Even the protector needs to be protected. Okay, go ahead, Ish.
Can I jump in real quick? I think we need to be as aggressive in showing each other love as we were aggressive in being combative with one another. I think we need to stop using the N-word as a term of endearment, so to speak. And I like to use the word brother with strangers. Even if I'm in the hood, sometimes I see a rough-looking brother, and I hold a door for me. I always go above and beyond to show him love, and I make sure I use the word brother because I want to make that distinction that I'm showing you, subtly trying to show you love. And I think we as Black men need to change our communication standards with one another. And the N-word, I think, is a lightning rod, and we need to stop using that word in polite conversation as if it's some sort of a term of endearment, because words have power.
Ish, I will tell you, I 100% agree with you, folks. I will say to you that the African American community, our community, if we really put the money and the love behind our businesses, our organizations, we would be extremely successful. But for some odd reason, we don't value our dollar, our relationships, as much as we value other dollars and other relationships. And I say that because it is no way that we are the largest contributor to anything and everything, but we have less financial stability than any culture that's out there. A few of us, and I call it the 10 to 20%ers, get out, but it disturbs me because it shouldn't be that way. We should be behind it. BET should be just as large a network as NBC, CBS, and ABC, but they're not. Do you understand? So that bothers me. Black Enterprise should be just as big as Forbes magazine, but it's not. That's the problem. We're not supporting one another. And I think that's, for me, it goes beyond brotherhood. It goes beyond our hood. We need to start looking at the African American culture as our hood, our neighborhood, our ecosystem. As Matt said, our village. We should be supporting anything and everything Black folks put out that's positive about Blacks. It should be folks getting on planes to see Dr. Campbell. You understand, for pain management or whatever services that they may think he has. We need to support. And that's what concerns me. As African Americans, we're not doing that. And we definitely don't support one another. Folks, if we can't be vulnerable with our own people and not be honest and truthful about who we are, then where can we go? If you have not realized this is 2023, they are still killing us. The closest thing you can get to a lynching right now is just to shoot somebody. And they're doing it in masses with no thought behind it. They are tearing our businesses apart and not helping us build them back up. It's harder for us to get a loan from a bank than anybody else. We have more degrees than anybody, but the person you work for has a college education, like a bachelor's or high school degree, but you work for them. So if you don't understand, and again, I work in corporate and I also own my own business, understand this. We are devaluing ourselves by not understanding that we are the ecosystem. We are the hood. We are each other's keeper. And we've got to start looking at that and not stop looking at each other's competition in any facet. Because if we're helping one another, who can compete against us, right? Nobody can. Nobody can compete. If we all just form together. So the only thing I can say is, folks, if you're watching this podcast, if there's anything my company can do to help your company or you be successful, just reach me in my DM. You guys know it's either 5F's to Love or it's PICF, the IT company. I would be happy to assist you in any way I can because I'm all about Black empowerment. We've got to start helping each other so we can reach the higher heights. And as for my Black men, could y'all please start talking about the real stuff? Okay? All of y'all ain't the greatest communicators in your personal lives. Neither are you in your friendships. Your sex life is going down once you hit 50. So you need to figure out how to keep it up. And if one of y'all boys is a rock star in it, can you call the brother up and ask him, what is he doing? Maybe he eating bean sprouts or something. I don't know. Just talk to him and figure it out. And the other thing is, make it an open communication where you can say, hey, I'm going to the doctor. Can you go with me? Make sure you get your colonoscopies. Make sure you get your prostate checked. Make sure you get checked for diabetes and heart disease. This is very, very serious, guys. We got to start supporting one another in any way we can. But as always, you guys know I'm always happy to see you. I feel like I'm creating my own little brotherhood right here on the podcast. Like all of you guys that come on, right? Because this is like, to me, this is like the forming of an opportunity for you guys, open communication about who you are, what you are, and what you need. By the way, if y'all need help, call Dr. Campbell. If there's something going on downstairs, call Dr. Campbell. Because they got some remedies in Jamaica we don't know nothing about. Call Dr. Campbell.
There actually are some really cutting edge and just interesting stuff that is happening, but most people don't even know about them. Especially as it relates to like ED and stuff. So there's a lot that's happening, minimally and even non-invasive stuff. So it's just a matter of having those discussions.
Maybe we should have a discussion just about that, just in general, during Men's Month and during the podcast, is just talk about those different procedures or health issues that men should definitely get checked out. But guys, as always, I want to say thank you for joining me tonight. I love Real Talk with the Men. You guys give me the best conversation ever. And let me just say this, Matt, when this is all over, I expect you to answer the phone.
Always, you said good.
Dr. Campbell, if he don't answer, you next.
All right, no worries. So I'll be here for a minute. So go ahead. I'm here.
All right, guys. Thanks again.
All right, guys. Good night. Good show. See you next week.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, guys. For watching us and viewing us on Real Talk with the Men on the 5F's to Love Network. We'll see you tomorrow when we have 60s and the 40 with Gerald, and he's working on legs. I can't wait because I need them legs worked out. I'll see you guys next week.
All right.